in the right place. So we're talking bob still, and we're going to go for the mini blunt bob. The mini blunt bob, again, is just terminology. People are coining these terms and bring them out as new trends, where it's very similar to the sort of like jawline, cheekbone grazing bob, but there's a little bit more texture in there. So we've softened up off the line. We haven't got it as laser sort of cut. Very much softness, texturized, a little bit of sort of movement in there with the styling. So that's what you're looking with the sort of like the mini bob. You could be wearing it as multiple trends, to be honest. If you have a bob this coming season and coming year of something around about here, and you are very good at straightening, curling, waving, texturizing, diffusing, this bob will just be an absolute winner and really, really versatile. And if you get it just that little bit longer, you might even be able to put it up, which for the gym girlies out there, or the sort of like school run mums, anything like that, it will be an absolute lifesaver. Texture blunt cut is another one. And again, we're just talking the same thing over and over again, but these trends just seem to be a sort of like twist on the last one. So when we're looking at the textured blunt cut, again, we're talking blunt lines. It could be any blunt line. It could be middle of your back. It could be bra strap. It could be collarbone. It could be cheekbone, jawline, cheekbone. And then as long as it is textured, and rather than cut blunt, we're just sort of like texturizing it, softening it up and adding some layers to it, maybe a bit of graduation just to keep a little bit more weight in there. That is why the blunt textured cut is going to be another big trend, because again, super, super versatile. Curtain bangs don't seem to be going anywhere, and for very good reason. In the salon, the amount of curtain bangs that I do is crazy. And I'm surprised, like, I always think about it in the salon, like a few years ago, it sort of wasn't really not a few years ago, a number of years ago, should we say, it wasn't really a thing with sort of these curtain bangs, because it was just seen as curtains. And if you had curtains, you didn't have them, because curtains were not the thing you wanted in like the middle of your forehead. Whereas now techniques have moved on, styling's moved on, products have moved on. We can make them look and sort of like feel even better than ever. And that's the difference, where the transition of these sort of trends happen, because hairdressers get better, tools get better, styling products get better, you get better actually understanding how to style it. And that's why these things sort of make an appearance now and again, or just are a constant trend. And the thing, when you're looking at the salon, I was saying about this, about the graduated bob. The graduated bob came out, and it was sort of like a really innovative haircut. And when people start to be able to style it really well, wear it really well, then it becomes like a salon staple. And I think curtain bangs are just that. They've become a salon staple, and it's just that little bit softer than having a blunt fringe. Years ago, it was a side fringe, blunt fringe, or no fringe. Whereas now, I'm so glad that people have sort of taken on board different ways and different styles to wear their hair. So we were talking about the short and wild shag earlier, and now we're talking about the short shag cut. This is a bit shorter than the short and wild shag. The short and wild shag was a little bit more textured, a little bit crazier, I suppose, a little bit more shaggier. Whereas the short shag cut is a little bit more precision. You can see that there's texture in there. You can see that there's movement in there. You can see it's quite shaggy, but there's a lot more precision. That's the word I was looking for. I already said it. There's a little bit more precision in there, and it just keeps the shape stronger as a silhouette, rather than a short and wild shag, which is just a little bit, you wake up in the morning, ruffle your hands through it, and you're ready to go. The short shag cut is a little bit more composed and a little bit more styled and stylized for this trend. A trend that I haven't seen for a number of years now, but I'm glad it's come back. It's the sharp shoulder cut. Now, the sharp shoulder cut, all these names, they are such a little sort of tiny little tongue twister. But the sharp shoulder cut is something that sits here on the shoulder and is just like boom, but blunt. You're only going to get the sharp shoulder cut if you have it blunt. If you have any layers in there or graduation in there, you're just not going to have it. If you've got hair which is really thick, you're probably not going to want to wear this either, because it's just going to puff out and be quite hard to style. It's sort of for like finer to medium densities of hair, because it just gives you that bit more precision, and it won't look as sort of like weighty here, I suppose. I'm a crab. But with a medium to finer density, you want it to be just like and that is the sharp shoulder cut. So now we're talking about the 1970s long cut. Now this is a soft and feathered and fluffy look from the 1970s. And it's amazing how many clients still say, oh, can I have it feathered? Whereas that terminology has sort of died out, to be honest. It's more about face framing and everything like that. Whereas clients still say, oh, can I have it feathered? And with this 1970s haircut, terminology back then was feathered, it was fluffy, it was soft. And I suppose bringing this trend back, and we're going to be taking away that sort of heaviness of a wolf cut, maybe that face framing of a butterfly cut, and we're going to wear it a little bit more feathered again. And I'm here for it. It's just going to be a modern long cut, and it's going to give long-haired babes a haircut from decades past. Lob length curls. So if you want to know what a lob is a long bob just put together, a L for the long and an ob from the bob. Lob length curls. So we're looking at maybe collarbone, maybe a little bit higher, but anything sort of like around about here that's sort of just touching your body, that is where we're looking mainly around about a lob. If you want a lob which is going to be quite wearable and quite easy, you want to have it A-line. So you want to take it sort of up here, so it's not really touching but grazing at the back, and then you want to have it just come down a little bit through here, because then you can tie it up and it's just easier to style, in my opinion. But having it with curls, having it straight, having it wavy, it's such a versatile look. And because it's just that little bit longer than a bob, you can do a little bit more with it. Again, curling, straightening, waving, diffusing, texturizing. You can see in every one of these trends, I'm trying to give you ideas that you can basically have any trend, but you can style it literally any way you prefer. Choppy layers is another bit of terminology that us hairdressers love and you clients love as well, because when you're trying to describe what you want and you're saying like, oh, I want it quite choppy, we know exactly what you mean. And this is what I absolutely love about talking about hair trends and color techniques and everything like that. When you use terminology that everybody understands, it makes the haircut appointment and service so much easier. Because if I started saying, instead of choppy, what could I say? Like slices. We're going to start like slicing. I suppose people know what slicing is. I'm trying to think of a word other than choppy. It's quite difficult, actually. But do you know what I mean? If you were thinking of a word that didn't really make sense, or was a hairdresser terminology and not a client's terminology, the consultation process will take a lot longer. So when you're talking choppy layers, we know exactly what you mean. You can have them long, short, medium, but just as long as you've got them choppy, you're going to be bang on trend. So let's talk pixies now. If you're going to be wanting a pixie haircut for 2025 and you have had long hair and you're going short, consultations with your hairdresser are super, super important. So you both understand where you want to go, how you want to wear it. If you're one of those people that are just like, look, I'm going for it, I want it short, and then you normally end up with a little bit longer, maybe down to the hairdresser's confidence. And a hairdresser, if you're watching this, you can overcome that sort of confidence barrier by really understanding and having a really thorough, in-depth consultation with your client. Because if they're on board with it, why aren't you as a hairdresser? And that's what I always think. If a client comes in and says, look, I want a complete makeover, I want to be going from this to super short, and a hairdresser takes it to like midi short, it's just a bit of a confidence issue that you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to cut it too short because I don't want them to hate it. If you cut it exactly how they've sort of described and you've described, they're going to absolutely love it. But yeah, pixie cuts are going to be huge again for 2025. So the blunt chin bob hasn't gone away, and it isn't going to go away, to be honest. And when you look at a blunt chin length bob, you're basically looking one length, chin length, and not really much to it. You will find a handful of clients who have the perfect hair for this. And as a hairdresser myself, what you will also find is you'll be doing haircuts over the years that you think, oh, you look back on and you think, oh God, like, why didn't that look, or why didn't that sort of fall exactly how I wanted it to? A lot of the time is because a client's hair is a little bit different to what the picture they bring in, but also what you're sort of relating it to. You might have done that haircut on somebody previous with really fine hair and you think, God, this client's got really thick hair, I think it might sit a little bit better. But you're thinking, oh, it sits a little bit chunkier. Yes, removing weight is an option, smoothing, straightening, keratin blow dries. But when it comes to a blunt chin length bob, you really don't, if you've got to take in consideration people's face shapes, hair thickness, hair density, age, because if they've got a round face and then you put a sort of like chin length bob on, and they've got loads of hair, so it starts to go triangular. And if they're dark, it will contour, but if they're blonde, what that's going to do is it's going to expand and make their face look even bigger and rounder. So these are all the things you got to think about when you're looking at the like blunt chin length bobs. Really take into consideration what the client is wearing right now, because what you want to do is, if you actually don't think as a hairdresser that's going to suit them, then you could recommend them something else. You could jump on your phone, jump on Google, and you could be saying, look, I know you want a blunt chin length bob, but because your face shape is just that little bit sort of round, I think what we need to do is we need to take off the corners here and the corners here. So a curved bob might be good, because it will come through here, expand through here, and then cut off through here, creating the silhouette or sort of like similar to an oval face shape. So I hope all those hair trends have helped you so far for thinking about what you're going to have in 2025. I know a lot of them were bobs, but bobs seem to be trending. I will do a medium length trend report as well. I'll also do a long hair trend report, a curly hair trend report, and everything else in between. So if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below what you're going to be wearing for 2025. I would love to know. We're on the road to 200k subscribers, and I just want to say I thank everybody for helping me on this journey. And yeah, let me know what you're going to be wearing for 2025.